to the second part of our Unit 9, which is on causal reasoning. Unit 9, meaning that we are looking at the inductive reasoning, the content on inductive reasoning. We looked at the various connotations of the word cause yesterday. I say yesterday because we did our makeup yesterday, and we are continuing today. We looked at cause as proximate condition. In other words, the condition that immediately preceded the effect. It was just before the effect. So you think of it as its cause. And we saw that such a thinking could likely generate a fallacy called post hoc ergo propter hoc. We looked at some other connotations of the word cause, and then we moved on to J.S. Mills's method of causal reasoning, and we discussed two of them substantively, and we introduced one partially. The two that we discussed, J.S. Mills's methods, were the method of agreement on your screen now, and then the method of difference. Okay, the agreement is where we find a common thread running through the antecedent conditions, and then a common effect, common meaning the same. So what is happening in the effect is the same throughout. And so we attempted to check what possible common feature runs through all of the antecedent conditions for the different persons we are dealing with. Okay, that's why it is also called the common thread method. And then we quickly pointed out that in our bid to call a reasoning, a causal argument and one that is based on agreement, we may end up committing the fallacy that confuses correlation for causal connection. Okay, the fact that the two things correlate, they happen at the same time. Think of coincidence. Okay, they are just happening at the same time, or oftentimes they happen at the same time. So you presume that it is one that causes the other. So wherever you see cream, look, cream, 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 the effect is running, 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 running. In this instance, because of the subject matter, there might be a possible causal connection. But sometimes it's just a mere coincidence that wherever you saw that brother, it happened, it turned out that, like the laptop example, like a laptop got missing. Whenever they were investigating laptop thievery in that building, there is something about that brother there. Either he came to pass in the CCTV camera that day, or he was at the shop near the place where the laptop got missing. He is always in the middle of a laptop scenario. So you are tempted to think that there has to be something. Perhaps he's the one stealing it, or he works for the one who steals it, or perhaps he's a repairer that can quickly dismantle laptops when he wants to, and so on and so forth. So, but sometimes he just may have nothing to do with it. It might just be a mere coincidence. So we want us to be minded when we are working with these causal explanation methods, okay, by J.S. Mill, that they are not certainties, they are what? Probabilities, informed ones at that. So we saw method of agreement, the same preambles are given works for difference also. The method of difference, look at the effect. The effect differs. It's a differing difference, okay? So whereas for the method of agreement, the effect is what we are trying to investigate. We want to know what caused it. So that for the method of agreement, the effect was the same throughout. So you are just going to look for what possibly caused that effect. But for the method of difference, the effect is not the same for person one and person two. That's what we say. All these were said yesterday. I'm just building on it to go to what we want to mop up with today very quickly so that you can have your evening. Okay. For difference, the effects are not the same. One is running, the other is not running. So your focus will have to be on where there is running. Then you go and check what is happening there. When can you apply the method of difference? The two persons you're investigating, the two scenarios, if you like, should have what? Common antecedent conditions, with the exception of one. So there should be a different antecedent condition, so that you can now trace that difference to the effect and say that, oh, voila, it was because of the mango in our example on the screen now. Why? Because look at what is happening at the effect. Running is happening with the first person, but the second person is not running, she's intact. So you want to know what is different in the antecedent conditions for the first person. Different from what? Different from the second person. Why difference? Because they share every other thing in common. Okay, and so that is the method that leads us to a likely, conclusion that it is the mango that is accounting for what? The running. Then yesterday, I said link the method of difference with the third method, which is what? The joint method of agreement and difference. Just create a method of difference, but this time around, your focus group is not one person versus another, or one school versus another school. You are checking the food poisoning issue there, or one vendor from another vendor. No, this time a pool of them. So a collection of students, a collection of persons 1 to 10, all ate the same combinations of meals, and they all took mango. Please look on my screen. I'm speaking to the slide there, okay? So in those persons 1 to 10, each one of them took rice, wachi, ice cream, and mango. And look at the effect. They were all running. So that is the method of agreement at play there. Wherever mango was among those persons 1 to 10, there was running. Okay, so that is the first one. By the method of agreement, you put them together. Go to persons 11 to 22. None of them took mango, and none of them is running. So that is another method of agreement. It agrees with them within persons 11 to 20. They didn't take mango and they are not running. Then now compare the two collectives and you will see that the method of difference is now working on those two groups that were method of what? Agreement. That is the joint method of agreement and difference. And so we tell you that this is a stronger way of establishing a possible cause. After you detected that wherever there was mango, the people were running, that's a method of agreement. Then you strengthen it and say, okay, I cannot be the degree of probability is not so certain yet. Let me contrast it and see, what about those who didn't take the mango? This is Felicity in her physician's seat, trying to interrogate what could possibly have accounted for the food poisoning. So they say, all those people who had the TZ at the dining or at the eatery are all running. He says, really? He said, yes. Some other people came there. All the 10 people that ate the TZ are running. So the question from the physician would be, were there some other people at the shop there who took something else apart from TZ? Then the eatery folks say, oh yes, some people took wache, some took this, they are not running, they are there. That's a stronger, you see, you have increased the degree of confirmation. We learned that, confirmability. The probability is higher then there's something about the TZ now. Because wherever we found TZ, we found running, method of agreement, okay? Now you go further to contrast that with the method of difference and say, what about those who didn't take the TZ? Say, oh, when Yaya and they didn't take TZ, they didn't run. That's method of difference. Now you could go further. That's where we are now. Slide number method 3, and say, can I have more of them? So you say, oh, these people who have been admitted now are acting the same way as those who came in the morning to eat the TZ, even those who came in the evening to eat TZ. You see, now we are talking about a collection, so that you have stronger grounds to believe that then it has to be something about the TZ, not the Fanta that they drank or something, okay? So the joint method of agreement and difference is a collection of persons that agree, and a collection of persons that the suspected cause is not noticed with. Please, if you have a question, don't hesitate at all. Just raise your hand. I'll pick them. But now I go to the very last one, and very well done. We have 35 people on. I presume that they are there. As for the numbers, I see them, and I want to believe that people are there. We'll test that shortly. Okay. So Mills's method, the last one, is the concomitant variation. An accompanying variation. That's concomitant variation. There again, you will see that it is like the method of difference. I've told you we are increasing the degree of confirmation. So we are using the stronger method. You see that there is person 1 and person 2. They have everything in common. This is difficult sometimes to detect because you can't single out a specific, item. Each of the 2 scenarios have all the items. Suppose the lady and the gentleman all ate the same rice, wache, ice cream, they all took mango. What do? There isn't any exception, so there's no difference. And they are all running, so it agrees. What then do you do? And there are not many for you to use the joint method. The method of concomitant variation says when you have that, then tweak the suspected cause. Here there is a suspect. You have, one of the causes, antecedent conditions as a suspect, but you don't have reason to establish causal connection. You can't tell if there is a cause and effect, connection at all. It is a suspicion you have. So you want to increase the degree of probability. What do? Add a little bit more of the suspect. So increase it. That's why in person 1, if person 1 is Nancy's meal, the next day, we add a little bit more of the orange, the mango juice. So day 1, maybe she took 1 glass of mango juice after the main meal. And she was running. And then Christiana took 1 glass also, and she was running as well. But we are not sure if it is the mango juice or is the ice cream or is the wache or perhaps the rice has something for which is causing the running. So what do? The one we suspect, we increase it a bit more. So day 2, conference day 2, when Nancy and Christiana go to have their lunch, this time they ask for what? Nancy says, give me 3 glasses of the mango juice. I really enjoyed it. Let me see the effect. And then it turns out that she's running more, I don't know whether she say rampantly or right. The consistency. You are visiting the loo 2-3 times daily. Now that is a sign. Remember, you don't say now we have proven. You haven't proven nothing, my friend will say. You haven't proven anything. Proof is too strong a word to use. You have a good reason to believe that there's a causal connection between the mango and what? The running. How did you do that? There's an increase. Sometimes there is a decrease. As soon as you put that repellent on your skin, you sit in the garden and you don't feel the mosquitoes any longer. They are still there, flying. I don't know what they do. You can see them moving, but they are not coming to you. You say, is it that the repellent is that powerful? Look, give me more. Give me some for my arms and my legs. So let me see. And as you increase it, there's less of the mosquitoes. It tells you that there is what? A kind of causal connection. How did you find it? By concomitant variation. You varied it concomitantly. Okay. And so what other example can I give? The allergies. You see that your roommate is now visiting the doctors too often with an asthma attack. 3 days past, she was there. As soon as she got to the hospital, some few, nebulizations here and there, she's fine. Everything restored. Then she comes back. 2 days after, she's back. Attack, serious one. The inhaler is not helping. The 3rd time she comes back, it is not the time to go get an inhaler again for that patient. You have to check something. Something is not right. Possibly some roommate is removing his smelling shoes or her smelling shoes and dumping it under her pillow. Or put it under a pillow. I'm sure you're laughing at you. Don't worry, feel free. Or some new perfume is being put on her that she's reacting to. It's not medicine thing. It's a change of something. How do you know? So you say, look, bring me the cream you use, the body cream you use. Let me see something. Okay, that is a physician's word. You want to see if more of it will lead to, for instance, more of what the attacks. So you could bring the person under your observation. The elderly folks do that a lot. Okay, and then you say, this is your new cream. Okay, put more on your skin. When you finish bathing, you smear more. So it's too much. Say, don't worry, you put it on. I want to see something. And then you leave her. And sometimes right after she puts it on, first it's a slight cough, then she's still working on her laptop, blah, blah, blah. Before long, she gets that time. Very quickly, it tells you that she's reacting. You know, sometimes you put the person near a smoky area, of course, under observation because it's an attack. The person is going to get the reaction for you to see that it was that one. So be careful. You are reacting to the is it lactose, the milk in that food. Sometimes people take it and it's just some small reaction they get. So you don't get to find out what exactly in that food component is causing that reaction. Some swelling on the skin or some rash. It's some small seafood, oyster or maybe crab that was in the okra stew. If you are not sure if that is what the person is reacting to, you could ask the person to take in more under observation. All these methods and examples I'm giving you, whether at the lab or at the office or at home, what have you checking your child, is the method called concomitant variation. So you are varying that which you suspect to see if it will lead to a variation in the effect also. And that is a good method to establish a possible causal connection. Any question? See how we are going to finish it tonight. I didn't see a hand up yet. Okay. Go ahead, Kwabna.
Hello, madam.
Hello, sir.
Please, so for the concomitant variation,
Mm.
do you necessarily have to, like, let's say I'm going to increase the maybe one condition of the like increase the suspected condition.
Okay, so you apply it when you already suspect one.
Suspected, yes, please.
Hi.
So if I'm increasing maybe with person one, do I necessarily have to increase in person two, or I can just leave person two as they are? Or
yeah, sometimes no, you
have
okay, I get you now. So you could leave person two. Okay. But it is a stronger way if you reduce for one and increase for the other. Those who do lab stuff, I mean, those who are testing the efficacy of, say, the COVID vaccine or some vaccine, that's what you do. That's why they use, sometimes you use animals or rodents who have the biological makeups like humans, we are told. So in one rodent, you give more of the vaccine to see the reaction. In the other one, you give less. Sometimes one of the rodents become addicted to the vaccine or to the drug. Then you know how the human being, plus or minus, will react if he were or she were to take an overdose. So imagine a child, a drug that should go for an adult, maybe 500 kilograms, excuse me, is it 125 milligrams? 125 milligrams for babies, 250 for growing children, 500 milligrams for adults. If mistakenly there's a mislabeling and the 500 milligrams gets into the baby's pack and is sealed, you go to the pharmacy, you know you are buying a 125 milligram on the box, but the medicine inside is 500 milligrams. That's an overdose, unintended, but it has happened. What will happen just in case that happens? How will you check that? So at the production stage, you will see that you have to think of what happens if you increased it. What happens if you decreased it? What happens if you altered it so and so way? That's why it is a stronger way of establishing a confirmation. If you increase, then it leads to an increase or decrease. Sometimes an inverse one. I use the repellent to show you that. Or afterwards, you want to decrease to see, so that you know that, oh yes, an increase leads to that, a decrease leads to that. You know, the chloroquine thing, you have doctors and physicians in the making. So I think that these examples help you. In the past, more of the chloroquine would kill all the malaria parasites, but lo and behold, it will end up weakening your immune system too. Like the way you use a detergent, the one we call Parazone, to wash out the filth so much from your dress, such that you end up having a no dress because everything becomes started. It's too strong in your bed to destroy the germs or the stain. You end up destroying the cloth itself. Okay, so you are able to check that also. If you do both the increasing and the decreasing, it helps you have a good, average, if you like, when you are testing what the possible cause could be. Okay, so it helps, but sometimes you don't even need to get to concomitant variation or joint method. Just the method of agreement will give you a good inkling as a physician on what to do immediately. You saw that the woman has entered, she's in labor, the blood is coming out. We've seen that with the previous 2 or 3 pregnancies you have cut open. You don't want to wait and see how this one will be, because whenever, there we go, in the past you've seen patient A, patient B, patient C come into your surgical table with so and so and so condition, the effect was so and so and so. So by the method of agreement, they're inclined to saying that you don't have time to do labs now. You have to quickly cut open the woman before you lose the baby because of what you've observed in the past. And you see that there could be an exception, yes, but it's better to take that precaution based on the presence of suspected antecedent and its effect whenever it had happened in the past. You see, that could be a better precautionary measure than to say that this one may be an exception, and it might not be, it might just be like the one you've observed so far. So from method of agreement, we go to difference, go to joint method, and we may even go further to concomitant variation. All right, I want one of you to read this for me, please. That's the last slide. We have done about 3 of them, the fallacies. So you see, we'll mop up nicely shortly. Thank you very much. Let's take Charles Lane. I see Tim McComb. I see Jeremy. I see Pamela. I see Elvis. Jeremy, I think you have a very serious class. I try to hesitate from saying that all the time so that people don't get too complacent. I even got one of you calling. This is a makeup class. Normally people will say, well, I missed it because of so and so. She's at the doctor's and she's calling to say why she's not in yet and she'll be there. And I say, hey, that's good. Okay, so let's hope that it shows in your final. I'll keep commending you so that the data is not good to when I raise my big quipping, whatever, you will understand. Charleston, go ahead. You are muted though, so unmute and then please read everything on the slide. We'll discuss it.
Causal fallacy.
Very good.
Errors in cause and effect reasoning. Post-hoc ego prota after this. Therefore, because of this, if we conclude that just because something happened just before another, then it caused it. See how proximate cause could fall easily into this trap. Confusing cause with effect. There is an established causal connection, but in your reasoning, you replace the supposed cause with the supposed effect. 3. Confusing correlation for causal connection. The fact that 2 things happen at the same time does not necessarily suggest that one brought about the other. 4. Ignoring a common underlying cause, where there may be a correlation or connection, but not necessarily the cause, since there could be further conditions or events responsible for the effect. 5.
Excellent.
Genetic fallacy. Accepting, rejecting. A view because of antecedent conditions like when and where it originated from.
Well done. So the genetic fallacy is accepting or rejecting. It's not always accept. Sometimes you are rejecting it because of its source. At other times, you are accepting it just because of its source. It's as simple as that. Don't stress yourself. These fallacies are so obvious. Oh, but this one is China made. You see how we say that? Suppose you were importing a product for the labs or something, and then the marketer is telling you that, oh, Dr. Charlesley, this one there, you have to buy it too. So you say, why should we procure that for our facility? He says, it's from China. Excuse me, it's from America. It's America. You don't be taking in a critical mind. This is America, so what should we do? Should we go and carry the whole world? We are not interested in where it is from. There has to be something about where it is from that you are drawing my attention to. That's what I'm interested in. Not the label America. Tell me that this, even if you want to say it's from America, tell me this is an American standard. They've ensured that it's blah, 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 it's blah, blah, usually durable, it stays on for a while. Let's say you want to buy the BP machine, a homemade one, very accessible to help your clients and your sick folks be able to check it quickly and or diabetes check, insulin or something, you know. Tell me the quality of the thing. Tell me that one. This one doesn't need, electricity, so it can be used even in our very remote areas or when there are doom so, and doom so doom. You know, my expatriate friends, when we say doom so, you know the way the light goes on and off. So doom means off and so means on. So the on, off, kind of thing. So you are looking for something that has a bit more stability. So grandma can check her BP, even if auntie and mommy are not there. This person should tell me that you don't need electricity for this one. Dog. So think about it very well when you're making your decision. Apart from all of its qualities, it has stability, it is plastic, it's not too heavy. So grandma can keep it in her purse and be at evening service. You see, so you are showing me why my institution should procure it. Don't tell me it's coming from America. Who cares? Okay, so you want me to accept because of the genesis of it, the origin. That's what makes it a fallacy. Another person too will say, well, I don't think we should get those guys things. So Dr. Jeremy says, why? Or manager, whatever, He says, why? He says, oh, this one is coming, it's China made. So what? That's the question you must ask. So what? You see, otherwise we will be whipped up. So we'll do the informal fallacies from tomorrow, God willing. You will see why I'm saying that. You will be swayed and distracted by the masses, appealing to the masses, that is, or by an illegitimate authority, or by the genesis of something. The genesis don't matter. Look at the quality to accept or reject something. So that is one of the fallacies. And we call it a causal one because it's telling you what caused it, what brought it about. To accept it because of who brought it about. Accept it because of, reject it because of its origin, when or where it was created. That's simply it. That's the fallacy associated with cause and effect reasoning that we call the genetic one. Then we already met post hoc ergo propter hoc, so I will not worry myself over it too much. Then there is a confusing cause with effect. It also has a Latin expression. I don't know if you're interested. Pro causa, non causa. If it is confusing you, my sisters and brothers in the Lord, keep confusing the cause with the effect. I have an exam question I have set that down for you. I'm tempted to bring it up, but I won't. So let's use something else, like the ones I've showed you in your slides. Some fine examples I give. Look at confusing cause with effect. I notice on my screen now, please. We are ending, Calm down. I noticed that people infected with COVID-19 sneeze and cough a lot. So I am not going to cough or sneeze because I don't want to catch the COVID-19 infection. Can anyone see what the problem is with that? Let me hear from one or two of you. Very good. Abna, go ahead. Excellent.
She's confusing the symptoms of the disease with She's
with the disease
implying
itself.
that
Yeah.
the effects of the disease is what is causing the disease.
Very
Meanwhile, the sneezing is as a result of the disease, not
perfect.
the other way around.
And dear, don't add more cry. That is it. That's the problem. You are not looking at the cause. You are treating the effect. If you treat the effect, the thing won't go. So this brother who says, me, I'm not going to vomit. I'm talking the cholera one. It's in another slide I did. I am not going to vomit or poo for the rest of. I don't want any trouble with cholera. Because when people get cholera, they poo and vomit. Excuse me, let me teach you. So forgive me. They poo and vomit. So me, I'm not pooing, I'm not vomiting. How will you live on earth? This is earth. Earth. On earth, pooing is a necessity. The person has turned it upside down. So he's confusing the cause with the effect. It is because I have an issue that I take the medication. So if you say this person likes taking medication, that's why he's sick. Maybe you want to say that too much of the medication has generated a sickness. But what initiated the medication in the first place? If I'm not sick, well, will I go taking medication? No. Okay, so maybe the person had a slight headache and has overtaken the medication. It is still a confusing of what? The cause with the effect. Now that the TV, there was an example I had on screen. So the person moves closer so she can see what is on the screen because she's short-sighted. And you say that it is the TV that is making. I don't want to, I'm giving away all my questions. I want to be careful now. Just understand what Abina told you, obviously on the screen, that the person is confusing the effect with the cause. So he's saying for me to stop the cause, I'm going to stop the effect. But it doesn't work that way. For me to stop the effect, I will stop the cause. That is how it should be. I think it's clear. Then confusing correlation. I think I used the Wachi example with the Mainzin's call for prayer and the fact that whenever I was ending a lecture at City Campus, the clock will strike a certain time. The clock strokes, gling, and it was almost all the time the case because you have to end at a certain time for the next lecture to come on. So just when you wrap up, okay, thank you very much, guys. I hope that, and gals, I hope that you have a wonderful day. You hear the clock, everybody will know that you are almost happening at the same time all the time. Then you therefore conclude that it is my ending the class that causes the clock to give it stroke. No, it's a coincidence or a correlation. The two happen at the same time all the time. Doesn't mean one causes. So this example here, which I'm sure you have engaged because I asked you to practice, captures that. That is the post hoc ego propter hoc thing. This actually did happen. It's just a child in question that I can't make out. I think it was Michael, rather, the first child, or maybe Ella. But one of my folks, my little ones, was bothering me. And that day we were playing, Ghana was playing. I couldn't rest. Asamoah, one of our fine footballers, was going to play a penalty. And he does well for us most of the time, but some other times he can break our hearts. So he was behind the ball and we were all stressed. Then my little boy or girl, one of them, I think I put Ella, so let's work with Ella, was just bothering me left. I said, oh, well, I cry to her, how I gave her a spank. Pa! At the bottom. And then just after I did that, I heard go. We were celebrating. So I'm concluding. Therefore, whenever Ghana is playing or a team is playing and we need to score a goal, I'll take Ella and give her a spank and a goal will come out. That's post hoc ego propter hoc. It happened after it, so you say it caused it. Therefore, you're going to make it a principle. No, sir. No, ma'am. That's the fallacy. I could ask you to create yours. So the practice questions I gave you, have to look at them closely. The discussion question I gave you, which by now you'll be checking. Okay, I asked you to create fallacies of your own based on the slides. We are discussing them now to help you check what you put down there. I asked you to create a scenario that you can diagnose the causal source using method of agreement or method of difference. I will ask you. That's why I've asked you to do that. Practice it yourself. Okay. Maybe not directly, but I'll ask you. The one you don't know much about, I'm talking about the fallacies, will be what I'm going to talk about now, and that'll be the end of today. Overlooking or ignoring a common underlying cause. Either you are overlooking it because you trivialize it, or overlooking because you didn't take notice of it, or you ignore it because you trivialize it. You think it doesn't matter. It is common to those two events you have monitored, but it is underneath it. It underlies it. It's not obvious. Some example. My roommate, someone should read it, please. It will help me take a breath. So anyone wants to read your John Michael, go ahead. Thanks. Hey, the hands that are up are 7. This class. John, go ahead. Very good.
My roommates both have laptops and they both got A's in their UGRC 150. So if I want to get an A in this course, I should get a laptop as soon as possible.
People in the law, thank you, sir. What do you find wrong with it? I mean, I see Chire and Felicity's hands still up. Look, people could buy laptops too, and they would clean it nicely and put it up there, or they will switch it on all the time, and they're on Netflix, which is fine if you are relaxing. But it is the whole preoccupation of that laptop. Netflix and watching games. You go buy a laptop and treat it that way and see if it will matter at all in the results that you are looking at. Just because you saw the other two folks get it, use it, and you say that is what caused the A that they got in the course. So you are also just going to get a laptop. You may be overlooking, there we go, or ignoring an underlying cause, something else that is underneath the cause and effect observation. So here there is a causal connection, but that may not be the only one. That's all we are saying. Okay, so the grammar, okay, well, I'm going to give away another example. I shut up there. Okay, so when you see 2 events or 3 events or a supposed cause and effect connection, it is not always that you take only that for it. As a critical mind, that's what we are telling you. Look out for possibilities of underlying factors. There are people who got COVID-19 infection. They didn't die from it because they didn't have underlying factors. Like, I hope that drives home the point. Others got it. Sorry if you lost someone dear to you because of that pandemic or so. But I just wanted to use that. They got it, and in days they were gone. Others got it in days after some non-medication, really, just immune system boosters here and there, some rest, what they call the isolation, and they were back on track because they didn't have underlying causal connection. Say that way, okay? So here again, what our friend just told us was, you may see the folks having the laptops and doing well, maybe 2 or 3 of them. It doesn't suffice to therefore go get a laptop and come and find out what they do with the laptop. Maybe after all the laptop work, they have some prayer times together that you don't know. Or they download documents and then they study and they schedule, discussion times together. Did you see that one too? You didn't. All you saw is when they bought the laptop and they put it on the locket in the dormitory there or in the room there. And that is what may make you overlook the common underlying cause. Those 2 couples came and they were intimate on the 5th of May and whatever. And so they delivered after their first marriage. And the second year, they had their second child. The third year, they had the third, and they are done. The other couple to the same. So I think that it is good to get busy in May intimately. Who told you? Have you checked their menstrual cycles? There may be other factors underneath what you are observing, which of course are causally connected. So we want you to be minded. Okay, then the genetic fallacy that we already discussed. I even used the Chinese one and the American one to tell you. And there we go again. This our educational system is imported from the American system. And just that makes some very high rise and what's the expression, big men in society also think that just by arguing that way, it means that who told you? We don't have snow in Ghana for a reason. The creator knows why. You put some of us here, and the sun is what we have. Beautiful sun. Harness it. Those who have snow will harness that. The one that can move between snow and sun is fine. So when you are importing, you don't import wholesale in the name of the genesis of it. You go for practices, political practices, democracy that is not working for a communal system like ours. You don't do politics and law and what have you. So I think those examples shouldn't worry you. You look for those that are related to your discipline so you can connect and then to be more meaningful to you. But you can reflect on what I've said. Ballot box oriented decision making. Who told you? It's non-African. We are struggling with it. Coup d'etats all the time. Because the orientation of the African, the way we do things, doesn't permit you to even be saying, I, me, my government, me, myself, and I. It offends our way of life. Does it mean that we can improve? We can, but you improve on what you are. You don't improve on what someone is. Okay, all in the name of where it came from. It works there because that is what they are. So wearing gowns and gloves and shoes and covering yourself will work there because it is snow. If it's snowing, why are you going to wear summer clothing? But you are in summer clothing. Excuse me, you are in sun, heavy sun. I can't even get the expressions to capture it. And you are in coat, latte in the sun. How will you breathe? Just to give you some pointers to understand the genetic fallacy. And so pick what can be picked. Don't just look at the source. This guy can be any good physician. Or are you saying she's a pediatrician? That lady? Yes, but can she take care of her children? Why are you asking where she comes from? So and so place. That's your reason why she cannot. You see your mind? We can't argue that way. You have to look out for merit, qualities, durability, intellectual know-how, practical experience. What have you done? The mere fact that the person is a so and so religion or so and so religion. That's cheap. That's not a critical mind thinking. Breathe. We are done with Unit 9. Any question? Okay, let me stop the recording. I don't think I want it too lengthy. Kwabena, I'll take your question, but I'm stopping the record. Oh, okay, maybe let me keep it on for the benefit of someone. Go ahead. Then I'll take Felicity wanted to read for me, but I'll take webinar first and then Felicity.
Please, madam, could sexist statements be under genetic fallacy? I mean, because someone.
Oh, I didn't hear the second part. Was I'm sorry.
Could sexist statements fall under genetic fallacy?
Yes, if I heard it, I would know whether it is even ad hominem. We'll look at the informal fallacies next, so you can correctly label them. But oftentimes, even when you commit certain kinds of ad hominem, don't worry about the word ad hominem. When you leave the issue and you discuss the person, we call it ad hominem fallacy. We'll look at them. I think I have to give you the slide before morning. Wow. I'll pull it out and then tweak it here for you. So you look at it. Now, when you commit ad hominem based on the circumstances of the person, I don't think that who is talking with me now? I don't think Kwabena should be made the class rep. We say why? He say, but he thinks that because his father is rich and they come from, the presidential, so he's here he wants to come and boss it over us. Who? That's cheap brain. Your brain is too small to argue that way against making the person a rep. They're using circumstances about him. Is it his fault that his father is so and so, or he attended so and so school? So you are using circumstances and the genesis of the person. You see, so even though you are committing ad hominem, there is a genetic fallacy in it. And that's why I'm saying that if you say a sexist statement, I would need to hear what the person said, so I can tell whether it is directly ad hominem eulogistic. Don't worry, we'll discuss that, God willing, the days ahead. eulogistic and dyslogistic. So if it's sexist, it's likely you are using things about the person and their, gender or sex or something about them to either accept or reject a claim. Then it will be typically not just a genetic fallacy, but more an ad hominem, either eulogistic or dyslogistic one. When we look at them, then you can bring the question back. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Felicity, was there a question? Or I think you wanted to read for me. Your hand is still up.
It's a question.
Go ahead, my lady.
Please, can you differentiate for me the difference between confusing cause with effect and confusing correlation for causal connection?
Can someone, thank you very much. Can someone help our lady, not help, but take up that question? Let me see if we'll have one of you react to that. So confusing a correlation for what? A causal connection. And then confusing a cause with effect. Jocelyn, go ahead. Thank you so much.
And please, I think for the confusing with the effects, that one you have replaced the supposed effect A. You replace the supposed cause with the supposed effect. Like the example you gave. Yeah. I noticed that people infected with COVID-19 sneeze and cough a lot. So I am not going to cough or sneeze because I don't want to catch the COVID-19 infection. You see, the effect here is what? The COVID-19, but he has confused it. But for the confusing correlation for causal connection, that one, two things happen at the same time. So because of that...
Yeah, teaching assistant now. Well done. Go ahead.
And please, for that one, two things happen at the same time. So because of that, you suggest that a common antecedent factor brought that up.
Very good. So my lady, that's what Charles-Lynn just said. For the confusing a correlation for causal connection, it's just coincidence. One is not causing the other. There's no cause and effect connection at all. The two things just happen at the same time. So maybe anytime I'm closing, I'm still in my office now. So anytime I'm closing my office door, perhaps the other lecturer in the other building also closes his door. It is not my closing the door that makes him close his. We all have to close because the security folks will be gone by then and it might not be too safe being here late. So it just happens at the same time. There's no one that causes the other. But for confusing cause with effect, there is a causal connection. One brings about the other, one causes the other. But the person is turning it upside down. He's making the effect rather bring about the cause from the way he's reasoning. Okay. But the point is there is a causal connection for cause and effect reasoning. Okay, so when I say you are confusing the cause with the effect, pro-causal, non-causal, that one, there is cause and effect. One is the mother, the other is the child. But you are making the child rather the mother. That's the problem we have with you. For confusing correlation for causal connection, there isn't a cause and effect connection at all. It is a mere happening at the same time kind of scenario. And the person wants to presume, therefore, that they are causally connected. Okay. I don't know if that helps, Felicity.
Thank you.
Most welcome. All right, so we are done for today. Please, Jeremy and Charles-Lynn, just in case I forget, I don't want to, but I'm now leaving office and I have some good running around to do before I get home. So I plan to give you the unit 10 slides. It's very, what's the expression? Conversational. It's not too technical. When you read it, you can even understand the informal fallacies, errors in the way we communicate and engage. Sometimes we say, I think that this is a good product. Why? Oh, because it was advertised by Jeremy, and the product we are talking about is maybe a football something, and he's not a football person. Maybe he's a big boss being something else. We'll look at them. So you are appealing to an authority, but not a legitimate one. For example, sometimes you appeal to the masses. Oh, that's what people are buying. Those people that they buy the thing. We don't know say people they buy. People they buy say. So just because people they buy, we should go buy. You see. So we'll look at those ones, and it's just a fun kind of thing. We should use 2 days or so to clear those up. Then we are done. So that next Monday or so, I think we'll do half of the informal fallacies tomorrow, God willing, Wednesday. Was it Wednesday now? You said you had your. Let me stop this thing so that we don't drag the recording.